It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Osgood.
Bad Moon Rising was just one of the many big hits John Fogerty had with Creedence Clearwater Revival. Now, after a long and unhappy hiatus, he's singing from his fabled songbook once more. John Blackstone has our Sunday profile.
At the age of 60, after many years of near silence, one of rock and roll's greatest is rockin' again. Back on tour, John Fogerty is reclaiming his music and his past. Some 35 years ago, as the lead singer and creative force behind Creedence Clearwater Revival, he wrote hit after hit. After hit.
Because I am a pretty happy guy now, I don't look at it at this point and go, grrr, lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit.
That's because behind these happy tunes is a sad story. For years, decades actually, embroiled in a legal battle over rights, Fogerty refused to sing his own songs. Actually, we have to backtrack a bit. In 1964, with two school friends and his older brother Tom, Fogerty signed with a small recording company, Fantasy Records. After trying names like the Gollywogs and Blue Velvet, a TV show on water pollution inspired Fogerty to rename the group Creedence Clearwater Revival. Fogerty's buzzsaw voice, he calls it the swamp critter, gave Creedence a distinctive sound. The music's roots were Southern, though Fogerty grew up in suburban San Francisco.
I was probably pretty much a middle-class white boy. And because of the music I loved, it just sort of grew into the way I wanted to express myself.
Finally, Creedence had their first hit, Susie Q. But Fogerty worried they'd be a one-hit wonder. He calls it the sophomore jinx.
After, years of struggling, now you got the spotlight. Everybody's going, well, but if what you do is crap, then they go, right, I knew that. And then they move on. You never get the spotlight again, ever. And I took that real seriously. I didn't want to go back to the car wash.
Not to worry. In a frantic 3 years, Fogerty wrote 6 platinum albums, 10 gold singles, and made Creedence a rock legend.
I think I can actually even claim that Creedence, for the length of time of a cup of coffee, was maybe #1 in the world. Certainly a close #2 to the Beatles.
But success created strains. Creedence broke up, and Fogerty discovered the recording contract he'd signed as a teenager turned out to be very lucrative for the record company.
A lot of money was made, most of which went somewhere other than myself.
Fantasy Records claimed it owned all the songs Fogerty wrote for Creedence. You were sort of forced to turn your back on Creedence.
And all the music that I had created during that time, yeah.
Fogerty spent years in angry court battles with Fantasy. In the meantime, because his songs were musical shorthand that spelled out the 60s, many movie makers put them in their soundtracks, like Bad Moon Rising and The Big Chill.
That's right, guys.
on the Bayou in Born on the 4th of July. His anti-war anthem, Fortunate Son, turned up in Forrest Gump, and even in a commercial to sell jeans.
New 5-star denim from Wrangler.
All the time, licensed without his approval.
Comfortable jeans.
I'm saying that very delicately or nicely. You know, I was cheated. But somebody got a huge amount of money.
For years, he couldn't or wouldn't make any more music. Then finally, in 1985, he made a comeback with a home run. His joyous ode to baseball center field quickly became a staple in most ballparks. And a naturally to the baseball-loving movie, Bull Durham. But when management at Fantasy Records heard the center field album, they sued for copyright infringement, with the novel claim that Fogerty sounded too much like himself.
The fact that I would somehow survive and then flourish after 15 or 18 years or whatever drove him crazy.
Eventually, Fogerty won the right to sound like himself, but consumed by anger, frustration, and lawsuits, he bottomed out.
I turned around and I looked at the prison I'd been held in for 15 years. I got really pissed off until somewhere about 10 minutes after I met my wife.
Julie, 15 years younger, barely knew Fogerty's music when they met in an Indianapolis restaurant.
His career had basically stopped.
But then, one day, when she came home,
I remember walking into the house and hearing him playing and strumming that guitar. And I remember just standing in the foyer, just jumping up and down, so excited and thrilled that maybe we're going to get through this thing.
Fogerty was playing again, but still largely estranged from the music he wrote for Creedence. That all changed this year when he re-signed with Fantasy Records, after the label was taken over by new owners, Concord Music. Fogerty is even being paid royalties again on all those Creedence hits. And he's just released a new CD, 25 songs spanning his whole career. But Fogerty's life now is about a lot more than music.
Yeah, grab a ball.
John and Julie have sons Shane, 14, and Tyler, 13. The boys have only recently seen John on stage. There's Lindsay, 21, from Julie's first marriage. John has kids from a previous marriage, too. And then there's Kelsey, 4 years old.
Hello, my angel.
To call her a daddy's girl doesn't quite capture it.
Here comes your brother. Here we go. She's a princess. She's beautiful. These are wild. These are okay.
He wrote this song for Kelsey, I Will Walk With You.
I will walk with you every step of the way.
For a solo CD of new music he released last year.
Love me, hell, baby. I've heard it all before.
The title song, Deja Vu, is another anti-war offering.
All over again.
Same perspective, different war. This time it's Iraq he's protesting.
Day by day, we count the dead and dying.
Still liberal after all these years.
You know, I've held on to my liberal idealism, and I find that it makes some people uncomfortable.
He joined the Vote for Change tour during the 2004 election campaign. And of course, he brought the house down with Fortunate Son. And now he can look at the gold records from the past and see his future. John Fogerty is loving his revival.
You know, aside from having children and marrying the most beautiful woman in the world, you know, the feeling of playing and making people happy, I guess, is maybe the second best feeling, at least for me.